Good morning. I am just starting my author day and you're going to come with me and we are going to write a book in a whole different way than I normally write a book. And I don't know whether this is a really ridiculous idea from myself, but I have decided to become a pantser. If you do not know what that means, I will explain it all, but it is very different to what I normally do. I'm going to be writing a short story for my brand new series, and I thought what better time to just completely change everything than for my 20th book. You would think I would have learned by now to stop changing things and just do what I normally do, but I thought it'd be fun and I thought you could come with me. So today you are going to spend the whole day with me and we are going to try something slightly different. Well, very different. And of course, the author day needs to start with a cup of coffee. Come then. That is done. Coffee is ready, just need it to cool down and then we are good to go with the day. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a dive into what does it mean when I say pantser and plotter, just to give you the lowdown of what we're actually going to be doing today and how I'm changing things up and why. And the why is really I've just decided to. I normally plot out all of my books and I do an awful lot of planning, and you would have seen that in my last few vlogs where I had scene cards and I plot out exactly what I want this book to be about, the scenes and the chapters beforehand. I do a deep dive into the characters and think about what the book actually is about. It's not just about people falling in love, although that's a very big part of it. It's not just about the steamy bits, although again, I do love those bits. I know an awful lot about my book before I even start writing anything. And then I'm very strict with the fact that I write from start to finish. I don't pick up chapters here and there. That's just how I've always done it. So that is what we would call a plotter. I'm a planner. I love to know everything before I start writing. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum is pantsers or discovery writers. But that's basically the complete opposite, where people don't know the ending, people don't know what the story is about, and they discover it as they write. I think a pantser is like flying by the seat of your pants. Maybe that's what that's come from. And there are people that do like hybrid things in the middle, they'll plan a little bit and whatever. And I just suddenly had the urge to try something completely new and to pants my way through this book. Now, I'm starting a whole new series, so my last vlog that you would have seen is planning a whole new series. I have my series notebook here. I've done some brainstorming on potential titles for each book, but nothing yet confirmed. And there's no rush on that, so I'm just gonna let that sit and let that flow in the next few weeks and make a decision. Then the series planning is done and now I just need to write the first book in the series, and my first book is going to be a short story that I will give to my newsletter readers absolutely for free. This is a real introduction into this new series. I teased in my last vlog that I'm still doing my steamy small town romance rom-coms because that is what I love, but there is a slight twist on this series and I am not divulging what that twist is just yet. Who knows if I will ever remember to tell you. But at some point in the future, you will discover what this twist is, and hopefully you will love it as well. For now, this series does have a name. So I've just finished my Serenity Sand series based in a small seaside town in England, and this is very connected. It has had a series name for a couple of years now. I knew this is what I was going to be writing next. Just like after this series, I know what I'm writing after that, and it's going back to Serenity Sands, and I'm very excited for that. I've got no story ideas, but I know what the series is going to be following. So this is following a bunch of guys, and it's got a series title. I'm not going to tell you the series title, and I don't think I'm going to tease the series title just yet. I'm keeping you all in suspense, and I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not ready to divulge that information just yet. Anyway, this story that I'm going to be writing is a connection between that Serenity Sand series and this new series. It's going to be a short story. Now, my short stories aren't ever truly that short. They are like half the length of my normal size stories, but I would expect this is more than likely going to be like 30 to 40,000 words. My last series was like 80 to 90,000 words, and because I'm not plotting it out, I don't know how long this is going to be, and that will be fun and entertaining. So I'm hoping it's not going to go over too much, but the story will be what the story will be, and I will always write it with a full story in mind and not thinking, oh no, this is too many words, like I've got to finish this up now. No, it's all about the story first. If that ends up being a 10,000 word story, that's fine. I definitely know it's not going to be a 10,000 word story. Like, I cannot write truly short. Like, I don't know how people would do like a 10,000 word story. Some of my chapters are closer to 10,000. As much as I'm going to pretend to be a pantser, I have been thinking about this story for a long time, and I didn't really know what it was going to be about, but in my last book, ideas started to pop up, and I knew then that there were some little gems of information that is what this book is about. So I do have some ideas. I do have some very shady scene images in my head, and I've been really resisting diving into them and thinking about them more because I wanted to try this experiment of pantsing when I'm normally a plotter. I do admit though, I have done some planning, but in my defence, I read a book a little while ago called The Story Genius by Lisa Cron. It wasn't romance specific at all, but for me, this isn't just about boy meets girl falls in love. This is about two people that are perfect for each other, living life with ups and downs, going through struggles together, and realising that they were missing a big part of themselves, and then when they're together they're actually a whole person and feeling whole. So they go through their character arc. In that book that I was following and I've sort of adapted into my planning process, normally it was very much like, even if you are a discovery writer, there is still some basic information that you should know about your characters beforehand, so that this is a whole story that you are writing and that you don't have to then go back in editing phases, because not fun, to then fix these problems when you could just spend a little bit of time doing that. So I'm still counting this as discovery writing, even though I do have a section in my notebook for this book. And so I have done a tiny little bit of figuring it out. This is a forced proximity. This is a guy that has been living with his parents, very well off, but he's been living with his parents. Firstborn son is obsessed with the idea of taking over the family business. Bit of a grumpy character, and he's just found out that actually his parents have invited some random woman to stay, and that was all established in the last book, and that was all sort of threaded through already, because I knew he was going to be my character for this short story, linking the two series together. He is so set on his ways, very cold, very stoic, very grumpy. Then this woman is forced upon him, living in the same house as he is with his parents, who are set on matchmaking, and it is going to be romantic comedy genius. Can I say that about my own work? I don't know, that's the theory, it's going to be genius. Now, the only thing that I want to do extra is to just do a couple of deep dive questions and journaling bits on each of the characters, just to make sure that I know, like, what are their character traits, what is their character history. I need to figure out why on earth is this woman living with this family, and why is she so desperate. She puts up with like this guy trying to get her out and matchmaking and stuff because she can't go anywhere else, and I have no idea why that is, so I've got to figure that out. And then I think I will just be writing. See, this is why I can't write short, because I can't even talk short. I have some very quick admin, and then I'm going to do this deep dive into the characters, and then I am going to get into writing without knowing any of the chapters that I'm writing, without knowing any of the points, and then we are going to discover it together. Also, another thing, because that wasn't obviously a big enough thing to change, I'm changing how I write in terms of the fact I have always written in third person, and now I'm going to write in first. At least I'm going to attempt to. I'm going to see if it flows. I know it won't flow to begin with, but I want to see whether I can develop into that. Partly because I think an awful lot of readers do love that first person point of view. A lot of books are written like that now, so I think it's like industry standard, so I'm not writing industry standard. But also because as I've been thinking through stories, I find myself more, I think as I'm reading more books that are first person, because it's so industry standard, so I'm reading it more. When I think of stories and when I think of the scenes, I think of how I would write them and how I would type them, and that's coming out in first person. So I'm taking it as a sign. This is my experiment short story, because I thought, listen, realistically, if it has to get rewritten, it will get rewritten. But this will be quite fun. Who knows how it will go. Just go and grab your drink, settle down, because we're in for a ride here, guys. We'll see, this might be revolutionary. Or it might be a complete disaster. Who bets it's the second one? I bet it's the second one. I'll see you. No, I'll just swap the camera angle now and do the admin. Oh my god, this is going to be a disaster. I can already tell. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. Okay, it's because it's going to be fun. For you. It's going to be painful for me. Let's do some admin and then let's pretend I know what I'm doing. So I am going to do some of this What am I going to do? I'm going to do some of this planning stuff. Oh, I feel like my brain is not really in it at the moment at all. I'm going to do some of this planning stuff, and it is very small things about the character stuff, like who they are, their background, what makes them them, like a bit of history. Nothing too crazy is what I would normally do. I would probably dive deeper and be like, right, this is what actually happens in the story, and then plot out the actual like scenes in the story. I'm obviously going to skip that bit, but I'm just going to do a little bit of work and probably ask a few more questions and figure out a few more things, like why is the female character at the house anyway? Like, what's going on there? Because I literally have no idea. So I need to figure that out before I start. But I'm going to try and do it as like quickly as possible and just like get that done. Filming, but you know what I've also just found out is I've been using this all day and it's not actually been connected. I have just spent, I don't know how long I've been going for, just finalising those little bits for the characters. So I've done him, I was quite happy with that, and then as I thought, for her, she was still very much just a name and nothing else. And so I sort of started to go through stuff, and then halfway through was like, hang on, what about if this happens instead? And so sort of her goals changed and her characteristics changed and her background changed. Well, not background, but her backstory sort of changed. So I came up with just this whole thing of, oh, what about this? And then I really liked that, and that's what I'm going with. So there's going to be this event that happens that is secret and nobody else knows about it, but it's made her feel very insular and like she can't trust herself and nobody else can trust her. Her family, just out of, we don't know what she needs, she's not opening to us, but something's happened, and his family are like, just send her to us and maybe she just needs a break. So when she gets to the house, she's almost being like, feels like she's been thrust on them and she can't be trusted, and she's like uprooting their life. Not that she is at all, but that's how she feels, and she's obviously very closed off. But he is set on the fact that she is here for a bad reason and that there's like this ulterior motive behind it, which sort of opens up this whole thing of this whole sort of secret. I think you've got the real impression of me, but he doesn't. There's a question, like this random question that I asked myself just for this character. Why is she so annoyed that she's in his space? And I come up with a thing that is because he sees this negativity in her that she believes is in herself as well, but also because he makes her feel something, even if that's hatred and annoyance and frustration and anger. But she's, for a long time now since this incident has just felt numb. And so he makes her feel something, and that's really irritating, even if it's negative emotions. So I don't know how all of this is going to help for making this story really short, because there's obviously a lot of backstory here that needs to be discovered at the right time, and tension, and this slow burn enemies to lovers stuff, which just automatically takes longer. So I'm not setting myself up for a very short story, but I'm happy. I'm excited. The next step now is just writing, and that feels really daunting. I can't tell you, like, I'm really feeling daunted. I was toying with the idea of going to the coffee shop and writing for a change of scenery, have some lunch, have a nice cup of coffee. And then I just suddenly thought, you know what, no, because I don't feel comfortable, because I'm not planning everything and I'm going to write in first person and not in third person. So let's just stay home. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay home. Maybe if I feel comfortable later on, I'll pop out, but I'm going to make myself some lunch. I'm going to sit and start writing in first person, not knowing anything about this story. I literally don't even know where I'm going to start it. I think I'm going to start it with the fact that she's just moved in. He's not happy. And go from there. Oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? Okay, wish me good luck. So I have written the first bit of that chapter, and I definitely struggled with making it first person. So it felt like it was coming naturally, but I think when I was then getting into the story and sort of writing a little bit quicker and not thinking as much as like what I was writing, I definitely slipped back into the he's, she's, and making it third person, and I sort of caught myself doing it and had to go back and add in and like change it so that it was first person. But I am happy, and I'm just sort of sitting here going, okay, I feel like that's a good bit of an introduction to him in his point of view. So I'm thinking of swapping. I'm thinking about the scenes as I'm going and like what I'm going to write next, and I think that's fine because I'm discovering it as I go. But because it's short, I am really thinking about what is the most important thing and how can I show multiple things in one scene. So I'm thinking, oh, do I immediately cut to the evening and maybe it's her point of view now and it's like a reaction of how he's reacted to her, because he is very frosty to begin with. And then I'm thinking, well, hang on, what if I show it in this way, because then we get some of that like electric banter sort of vibe between them, and that will then show how she feels about him, but also continue to show how he feels about her. So I'm just trying to think of it quite strategically, which I've not really had to do before, and be like, all of these words matter and I don't want loads of words. So how do I combine things to make it the most impactful, to make sure I'm not writing loads and loads, and just make everything work really hard, like double time. And that feels new. I don't know if that will continue. That more than likely will continue, because I think it's quite sensible when I'm trying to write short and I'm not entirely sure what I'm writing, because it's not like I've got 10 scenes sitting in front of me, and so therefore I know it's going to roughly be about 30 to 35,000 words. I'm like, this is a complete unknown. This could very well spiral into a full story itself, which I don't want to do, but I want to make it so that it is a good story in its own right and that nothing feels rushed, left out, or lacking in any way. So I'm just trying to be mindful of all of those things. And be mindful that I need to write it in first person, not third person, and set up the whole series and, all the usual things. Make sure there's all the tension simmering and that actually people like these characters and that they're not just horrible for horrible sake. So, yeah, it's all fun and games, but I am enjoying it. And it feels really funny to be writing again. Oh, I think it's been a month. I think I finished writing my last book a month ago, and so it has felt like a long break, and I'm like, it feels really bizarre to be writing, but I'm enjoying it. Fingers crossed it won't take me weeks and weeks and weeks to finish, but we'll just see, and we'll see how the story goes and whether I can keep up momentum this time and keep the energy going. But I'm going to carry on writing. I've still got quite a lot of time that I can still write. I'm going to make use of all of that time. I will catch up with you shortly. It has turned so dark and miserable. It is raining, the sky is so grey, and I've got to go on the school run, which is so typical. But that is me done for the day. I have written 2 chapters, 3,000 words, and I'm really happy, apart from having to go back and go, oh, no, first person. I'm really happy with what I've written so far, and I will just continue to think about next chapters and write them as I see and discover what this story is really about. But I'm excited for what it's sort of revealing itself to be, and it is quite a different tone than I was originally expecting, and I think it's all sort of unlocked from her backstory. So yeah, oh my god, it is so tipping it down. I'm going to get so wet. I'm going to carry on writing little bits when I can. No real time frame or like goals on when I'm actually going to be finishing this story. I'm just going to let it flow and fingers crossed not procrastinate. Thank you very much for sticking with me on this very random experimenting author day. I hope you have had fun writing with me and discovery writing with me for the first time ever. And I will see you in the next vlog where we'll probably carry on writing. And if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe so that you can catch the next one. Thanks so much. Happy reading. Bye.